All right, let's jump into takes. I feel like I'm sure we've talked a little bit about some of our takes as we've covered the segment. Phil, you start us off. Give us, give us your first favorite hot take of the week that you've come up
Yeah,
with from the season. Yep.
we've kind of been foreshadowing this as I've been talking about these teams that aren't in first place. But as it stands right now, I think if you look at the division leaders, I think but when we come back here at first week of January, there's going to be six new division leaders come the first week of January. I don't know which divisions they're going to come from, given that the Eagles had an epic collapse in 2023. Could come from the NFC East. The Colts, they're looking dominant. They if I can go more into the Colts, I would, but I'm gonna hold off on that for now. But I'm gonna give those two divisions keep their winners. So Evan's putting up the two already, but those are my two that aren't gonna choke away the lead. If you go to the AFC West, I think the Chiefs overtake the Broncos. You go to the AFC North, I think the Ravens take the Steelers. You go to the AFC East, I think the Bills go over the Patriots. You go NFC West, I think the Rams take it over the Seattle. I think they could tie right now, but I saw Seattle on top of the chart, so I'm counting that one. You go to the South. This is where I'm saying my Panthers, they're going to come up strong. Baker's not looking good. Bryce Young, I just got to believe he's on my dynasty team, man. I got a lot of faith in that man. So I think you see some shenanigans go down in the South. It could be the Falcons, but I'm gonna go Panthers. And then I think the North, I think the Lions make a move here and Packers dwindle.
That's a really
I
good
like
take. I may not just agree with you on a one or two of those divisions, but even then, I'm pretty like it's a pretty good take. I guess I hadn't considered how many teams I have going far this season that aren't actually leading their divisions. The Chiefs are a perfect example of that. That's a really good take, Phil. I like that. I'm not going to
Thank
disagree.
I like that. Six is a lot, but I don't think it's
you.
going to be the Bucks though. So if it's not the Bucks, it has to be the Eagles, right, Phil? It has to
Or
be
the
the
Colts.
Eagles.
But the whole thing, you named it earlier though. I mean, as much as that would really not be good. I would go buy a VJ Edgecombe jersey and just go all in on the Sixers.
You
But
should do that anyway. You should do that
You should
anyway.
do that.
All right, this one, not some kind of hot take, but I just kind of want to destroy a team right quick. But I wish Zach was on the podcast. But the Atlanta Falcons have the two worst losses in the NFL this year, and I don't think that's going to change. How in the world do you go into the season as a team that you think is a playoff team, and then our guy Jared and our guy Zach are saying they're a Super Bowl contender after they beat the Bills, and then you go out and you get absolutely destroyed. I get it was Kirk Cousins. I get Drake London was out, and you just get boat raced at home by Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins, who are like one loss away from firing their coach. After earlier in the year they lost by 30 to the Panthers, this team is an absolute embarrassment. These two losses will be the two worst losses in the NFL this year, and yeah, they're not going to sniff the playoffs at this point. And the fact that they might lose the playoff spot by like a game, and it's going to come down to losing one of these games. So I just think they deserve to be destroyed after some of the chatter that was going on after the Bills game. I don't like to pick on the Falcons fans because they haven't had a lot to cheer for since they blew that Super Bowl a long time ago. Sorry, Zach, but this is just embarrassing. I mean, how do you lose that game at home to the Dolphins by like 30 points? I don't know. It's beyond me.
Yeah, if he was on the podcast, he'd be like, "Yeah, you're right, Evan. By the way, the Panthers. I like your take on the Panthers, Phil, because I don't think he's still figured out which team he's a fan of, and this is not helping make it easier for him. The problem is both the teams he's debating with between consistently give him these up and downs. So it's a tough situation to be in. No disagreements there, Phil. If you have any, let me know, and then I can jump into mine.
no, I think Evan nailed it with that take.
Yeah, I
Falcons
think
are a hot mess.
I like that you did that, Evan. I do agree. I wish Zach was here so we could have seen his reaction. It would have been hilarious. But I'll jump into mine. Are the Colts the most disrespected number one seed in football in like the last decade. Like I thank you to both of you, especially Evan, who came out and said best team in football earlier. But I've been going online, right? I watch a lot of sports media throughout the week. I talked to Phil about this a decent bit when we are hanging out. I love listening to people's take. It is, there, of course, Jeff Saturdays of the world and those guys are out there who have Colts ties that are giving us a ton of credit. But I'm going to call someone out real quick. And Evan, you can clip this. Nick Wright, first things first. I love you, man. You are actually one of my favorite people in media in general. I follow your takes every single week. As someone who's a Chiefs truther as well, I'm all aboard a lot of your takes. A LeBron truther has a lot of other great takes about football and basketball that I'm on board with. He has been absolutely destroying my Colts, making all these takes about how we haven't proven anything, or he feels like his whole comment was we've been one of the most efficient offenses in the last 10 years, or actually, sorry, in NFL history at this point. And his argument is, do we really think that's going to be sustained with Daniel Jones? Look, I get the statement, but the point I want to make basically by bringing this up, and again, I love you, Nick, so this is not trying to beef, not that he's going to see this, but the point I'm making here is I think people have this inclination to believe, especially because teams like the Vikings last year with Sam Darnold ended up having this great record and ended up losing. What people are failing to realize, though, is our team isn't just built on, oh, your defense is good, oh, your offense is moving the ball. It's built on a great foundation. And I think I want to just take the time to give that credit to them, because for years we have been roasted for our inability to get a quarterback. Well, the issue has never been not the quarterback, and our offensive line is dominating people. Jonathan Taylor might have a season better than Saquon Barkley did last year, which is saying something because Saquon had one of the greatest seasons ever. And even our defense doesn't really get talked about because of how great our offense has been. They have held up so well with the number of injuries we've had. Our entire secondary has been decimated all season, and we've managed to make it work with Lou Anarumo making big changes every single week to game plans to try to beat teams. I'm just getting really frustrated. Even Phil earlier was talking about how our record of like teams we've played has not been that good. We're 7-1 and beaten two teams that are 5-3 and 6-2, and one lost by one possession to the Rams, who were one of the best teams in the NFC. We just talked about them being maybe the best team in the NFC last week. And every other team we played, we've dominated. Like, it hasn't even been close. So I just want to go out there and say, like, this isn't even me trying to say, oh, well, we'll definitely win the Super Bowl. I just want some damn credit for a team that's been doing it the right way. Efficiency, spreading the ball around on offense. Every week, a different player is making big plays. Michael Pittman this week, Josh Downs the week before, Tyler Warren pretty much all year. Even good games from Alec Pierce and A.D. Mitchell. I'm just tired of teams that do it the right way, not getting the credit they deserve, because people want to talk about Daniel Jones not being good years ago. It's frustrating, but I really, as a Colts fan, I'm just very honored to see how Shane Steichen and them have put it together. I really do believe we are the best team in football right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with you being the best team in football the way you've shown. I think it's valid. I think your points are valid, but I also think the disrespect is valid because the couple times that you and I have watched the games, it's just like the opponent that you're playing, not disrespecting the record of the opponent, but as far as just like the eyes that are going to be on the Colts on Sunday just aren't going to be there between the Colts and the Titans and the Colts and um, the Cardinals, the Colts and the Jags. I mean, the AFC South is probably one of the least watched division probably in all of football, just from the lack of big names that are there and eyes and exciting players. Jonathan Taylor is one hell of a player and does look like he's on pace for like LaDainian Tomlinson touchdown record mark. So I think the disrespect comes from just the excitement. All right, I think Miles Garrett, Max Crosby. I wouldn't throw Trey in this mix. I would give it to these two players. I think they're worth three first round picks. I think equivalent maybe two first round picks, a young player, and a late pick. But I think if you're the Rams, I mean, the Cowboys their defense is so bad, so maybe not the Cowboys, but just someone that's Eagles. I would definitely throw their name in the mix. You go get Miles Garrett, and you're just wrecking havoc. The Browns, they're 2-1 when they don't turn the ball over. They got a plus, I believe it's no, there's no way that's right. They got let me look. They got 10 turnovers on the year on defense. They got what does Garrett have? He got 5 sacks last night. Like they just such a home like quarterback killer having Max Crosby and Miles Garrett that if a team like the Rams or someone gets them, it just changes the whole dynamic of the league. And for just the sake of the NFL fans, you can't watch Max Crosby, you can't watch Miles Garrett just have their whole entire career on the Raiders and Browns. I don't think we've brought up the Raiders. I don't think we've even mentioned their name like in this podcast. That's how bad they are. And like the Browns, I think the only reason why we mentioned them is because of Sanders. Like you just got to get them off of those teams and get them on a team competitor contender.
I like that take, Phil, except the one argument I'll make is we see Micah Parsons get the deal that he got. I would argue Miles Garrett is probably in his own tier right now in the sense of how elite he is, but he's a few years, if I remember correctly, he's a few years older than Micah. And I think Max Crosby is in his 30s. So in terms of the amount of assets that I would give up for those guys, it would change based on the current deals they have and how old they are. Miles, I agree with you because I legitimately believe that if you took him and you put him on one of these teams you alluded to, maybe the Rams or someone like that, they might just dominate. Like they might just go win the Super Bowl. Like that's how much of an impact he could have if you
Look what
already
Von
have.
Miller did for them.
What's up?
Look what Von Miller did for them when they went out and got him.
Exactly. If you have a good base already and then you add a guy of that level of elite, the fact he got 5 sacks this weekend on single on his own is actually insane. And it's the same kind of concept the Packers employed with Micah Parsons when all of a sudden, at least early in the year, their defense looked unstoppable. So I agree with you there. This is no shade against Max Crosby. I just think he's a bit older. I can't justify paying the same price for Max Crosby as the
You're probably right on that. Maybe
as
not
the
three
Packers.
first rounds for him, but he's still worth the Micah Parsons two first rounds for a contender. I mean, win the Super Bowl.
I
I mean,
think I
that's what
would
it's all
do.
about.
I think I'd have to value him differently. I'd give up a one first rounder, maybe a second rounder, and potentially a player for Max Crosby. Miles Garrett, though, you could probably get a team to give up 2 to 3 first rounders and a player because I really think they'd go win a Super Bowl the moment they got him. What do you got?
Yeah, can you imagine Miles Garrett on the Rams? That would be ridiculous. Yeah, I think.
He's
And
insane.
speaking of a team that would be willing to do that, the Rams,
Right.
F them
Yeah.
picks, as Phil alluded to earlier. So I like that. I like that a lot. Is it my take now? Is that
Yeah.
what it's on me? My last one, the New England Patriots might be this year's Washington Commanders. A surprise team that comes out of nowhere, gets all the way to the AFC Conference Championship. Obviously, Drake May's not a rookie, but he's pretty close in his second year. Could they challenge, say the Chiefs at Arrowhead or something along those lines in an AFC Conference Championship game, like the Brady Mahomes game we had right before Brady retired, something along those lines? The way the Patriots are beating teams is really impressive. I alluded to it earlier, but they've won in a variety of ways. They've won with their defense, they've won with their offense, and they've won with their offense being a good defense. They can win in any number of ways. They have really good balance on offense. If they can make an impact addition at the trade deadline that Phil mentioned earlier, I think they could be a surprise team in that AFC Conference Championship game.
That's a good take. I mean, I think if it's all about their path, if they can get home field advantage, they get one win, and then it's just AFC conference game to get there, or divisional round to get there. I think you'll end up with the same Mahomes, Lamar, and maybe they'll if they play each other in divisional round, then maybe the Patriots get there. But I think it's going to be the same soup as the past 5 years.
Well, it's a good point, though, that they would maybe even have an easier path than the Commanders by potentially winning that division and
True.
getting a little bit of home field. So, yeah, good point.
Yeah, Commanders had a tough one last year. Tough road.
I think as long as they don't come to Lucas Oil, they'll be okay.
We'll see about that. There's a lot
We
of
got
football
home
that needs
field.
to
I'll
be
skip
played.
us over them. I feel pretty good about that. But I will, Phil, I'll let you give one more before I go because I actually want you as a guest to give more takes. I feel like I give the same ones every week, so I'd rather you have the momentum there.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the next 10 weeks, I think you're going to see all of the young quarterbacks besides my boy Bryce Young. I think they're really going to regress. I think you're going to continue to see regression from Jaden Daniels. I think Caleb Williams is gonna. He was riding that hot streak, four game win streak. He's gonna fall down. I really don't. I'm not a big believer in Drake May. Continuing how hot he's been, I don't think it's gonna be like a huge fall down. I just think you're gonna see them. I think Bo Nix gonna. There's just so much hype around these young quarterbacks, which I love because that's the future of the NFL right there. But I think when you get later in the season, you get these teams like the Eagles and Chiefs who every year in year out they don't really care about the first 8 weeks. Though I will argue Mahomes sure is acting like he cares this year about the first 8 weeks. But you get these teams that's just like, hey, let's get through the first quarter of the season, and then we'll hit our groove. And so that's where I think you see the rookies and young quarterbacks kind of trail off mid-season to the end of the season because the other teams that are used to or know what it takes, they step their game up.
I, I think I disagree a little bit because I think guys like Drake May and Jaden Daniels, and the thing is, we haven't seen guys like JJ McCarthy who I don't know what he's going to be yet, but those guys are capable of like playing on the fly a bit more. And I think that makes it a bit more like I think that's where I think they differentiate themselves. Like when I think of Drake May right now, it's the fact that like you can have the perfect game plan and he can completely destroy it by doing what Josh Allen did his second year when he took that step forward, or his third year when he took that step forward. That's why I have a hard time picking against those guys because I actually believe these guys are more well-rounded than some of the guys we've seen recently. But it is funny because Phil, I don't know if you got caught this last week, but Zach Klein came out there and made a really good take about how first the number one overall picks just don't work anymore. And I guess the guys we're talking about right now that are more in that elite conversation are not the number one overall picks. And I don't know if there's some. I have to figure out something with that. There's got to be some big take I can make from it, but I just don't know if I fully agree with.
They're on the worst team except for Caleb. Arguments.
Yeah. What you got, E?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Caleb fan, so I don't know if I'm going to call it regression the rest of the year, but maybe regression from what people seem to think that he's been doing, which is people think he's been playing well when in reality he hasn't, and they've actually been pretty good around him. Drake May, I mean, it's hard to play this well, so I guess technically he has to probably regress a little bit because he's playing as good as anyone in the league, but
There's
yeah,
too much hype right now on these young rabbits.
yeah, I mostly disagree though. I mostly disagree, and I think I mean in Jaden's case he's kind of been hurt, so he's most certainly I think going to be better than he's been so far.
I'm not talking about Jaden. I mean more continuation of his last year performance.
Fair, but yeah, Penix is trash too.
So yeah, you forgot about Penix.
He's not.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Penix comes out this week and looks like last week's Tua, but